dangerous is Clenbuterol? Man, everybody talks about how dangerous Clenbuterol is. You gotta watch out. I feel like no one understands what clenbuterol is. And like I used to be in that boat. I had no idea what it was. I used to go with these bro myths too around, oh, you got to cycle off and on, and if you take too much, it'll kill you, and all this stuff. I used to repeat that crap all the time and regurgitate it out like I knew what I was talking about. You got to look at the clinical literature, man. You got to look it up. So this is what we're going to look at today. First of all, don't be scared of those bro myths around clenbuterol. Like it's probably not going to kill you, and I'm going to show you why. And the other myths around it, like you have to, what's some more? It doesn't help build muscle. That's incredibly wrong. Clenbuterol directly affects muscle building, all right? And people say it needs to be cycled every few weeks to not get sensitized to it and all the desensitized to it and all this stuff. No, if you're prescribed clenbuterol, it's meant to be taken every day because it works every day. You don't just desensitize to it. What happens is people take 40 micrograms, which is probably too much, but it's, not crazy. People take 40 micrograms, they get the shakes, right? 5, 7 days later, the shakes go away. So it must not be working. No, it's still working fine. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. That just means your body's adjusted to it. It's not desensitized to it. And there's plenty of literature, which I'm not going to show in this video, but there's tons of literature showing clenbuterol burns fat here. 12 weeks later, it's still burning fat. 3 months later, it's still burning fat. All right. It's hitting all the things you want it to hit. All right. It's a B2 androgenic receptor, and then your anticatabolic action / GR antagonist. Look into both of those. So it's not only helping you build muscle, but it's burning fat. So it's hitting it from 2 different pathways. So like all these myths around clenbuterol are sort of the opposite of what I just said, right? So again, I've said this on a lot of videos. I'm going to say it again. People are going to tell you to take stuff that's toxic on multiple organs. It's not even approved for human use. Things that are going to be masculinization, virilization side effects, especially to females. Stuff with very little clinical literature on it to back up its safety. And the stuff we do have, the safety is like, hey, don't take this. People are going to tell you to take that stuff that's made in some dude's bathtub before they're even telling you to look at things like Clen, HGH, or insulin, which are the most studied hormones in existence. All right, and they're incredibly safe. Like we have so much literature showing how to take it, what are the side effects, what not to do, what to do, and all the things it helps you with. That like, why would you not, take your testosterone? That's great. But before you move on to all this crazy stuff that's going to hurt your liver and your heart and your brain, why would you not take something like Clen that's going to help boost that muscle building up just a little and boost that fat burning up just a little? Same thing with HGH and insulin. Like, don't be a wuss and like don't be an idiot. You might as well try. That's a clinical dosage of them, right? That's all I'm wanting to point out. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying look into it. What logical sense does that make? Come on. All right, so next, what is the lethal dose? So here we have, I've told you in some other videos, the lethal dose is basically how much you have to give to a group of test animals for it to kill 50% of them, right? And this is usually on rats and mice. Now, there's obviously other things they use. I've seen things for like chickens, they use rabbits. And, of course, we do know for a fact on some drugs what the human lethal dose is. But these are not exact numbers. You're going to find different numbers everywhere you look, okay? Except for things like insulin and stuff like that. Those are pretty narrowed down. But, like, this is just to get you thinking, okay? This is to get you thinking about the full scale of what's going on, all right? So for clenbuterol, basically, for the equivalent of a 200-pound person, you're going to have to take 14,000 milligrams. So that's a lot, right? So what's the lethal dose? Now, we want to see if there's any case studies on this. And there's one for sure that is from, I believe, 2013. And this one is exactly what you think would happen for sort of a young, dumb kid, right? So I talked about in a previous video about HGH, how much you would have to take. And a kid did take too much HGH. You have to see what happened to that. That was horrifying. This one, on the other hand, not so bad. So we have a 23-year-old male, and you can look up this case study. So a 23-year-old male, he came to the ER, I think it was, with some anxiety and chest tightness, right? So he told them that he intentionally took 5,000 micrograms of clenbuterol. 5,000. Now, like, for a normal bodybuilder or someone in competition, you're taking, from around the 20 to 40 microgram range all the way up to, like, some people take 120, even more than that if you're a little crazy, right? So that's like 125 times the normal adult dose. 5,000 micrograms. Now, people act like Clen is going to kill you if you take too much. What would you assume would happen if you took 5,000 micrograms? I know before I started looking into this, I would think your heart would just beat so fast you'd have a heart attack. You would just stroke out, man. You would pass out. Not quite. So this dude revealed his potassium was a little ridiculous. All right, so you can look at all this stuff they showed here. He had an echocardiogram. It was normal except for hyperdynamic left ventricular function, which is exactly what you would think would happen. Some LVH going on there. It's probably what would happen if you kept doing this, right? Okay, so he was treated with some fluids, metoprolol, so that's like to lower your heart rate. Let's see. Basically, all of his abnormalities resolved after 48 hours, 2 days, okay? Let's see. Cardiac toxicity, type 2 myocardial infarction can occur with clenbuterol overdoses. All right, so this is just going in to tell you what could happen and sort of what to look for. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with hypokalemia, potassium and things like that. And then you see there it talks about B blockers, which means beta blockers. So, yeah, I mean, beta blockers are a really good idea to take, in my opinion, if you're taking clenbuterol. Obviously, you want to space it out. But that's going to help negate any side effects that you may be sort of leery of. You probably don't have anything to worry about in the long run anyway once you start looking at some of this stuff and the clinical literature on it. But if you wanted to be safe, a beta blocker is the way to go. So looking at this was 34% of the reported LD50. So 5,000 milligrams, we know for a fact, was not enough to kill him, right? Now, that doesn't mean if you give it to 100 people, it's not going to kill 50. We don't know that. It could screw them up pretty bad. But just by the way this looks in this case study, 5,000 micrograms, that was pretty far off from what it took to kill him. So, based on that to the LD50, it's interesting, right? So, what are the takeaways on this? First of all, like I said 1,000 times, and I will keep saying it, Clen, HGH, and insulin are always overlooked. You need to try those before you move on to crazy stuff like anabolic steroids. If you want to take your testosterone, if you're a female and you want to get your estrogen and progesterone and testosterone in line, that's great. But before you move on to all this other crazy stuff that you probably don't even need to take, look into taking something like insulin and HGH and Clen. Like I said, they're the most studied hormones in the literature. We know what's safe, we know what's not safe, we know how much you should take, when to take it, how often to take it, how long you can take it. We know like everything there is to know about those three, plus testosterone, those three hormones. I hope I said that right. That's insulin, HGH, and testosterone. We don't have a ridiculous amount of information on Clen. I don't know if I said that, but basically what I'm saying is HGH, insulin, testosterone, and then look at the Clen, right? So we looked at this, 34% of the reported LD50 of Clen, the dude lived. He was alive, like super alive. It didn't like almost kill him. I'm sure it sucked. It sounded like it sucked. But, something like this, start at the lowest dose possible based on the product you have. And what I mean by that is, liquid, that's usually asking for trouble. I know some of you guys, that's all you can find. That's all you can get. That's cool, but most of the time, that's garbage in my opinion. Just try to get some tabs. Try to get some tablets, pharma grade. And I get it. Clen is one of these research chemicals, so it's not totally illegal. It's like illegal-ish. But if you're getting, liquid, one dose might be 40 micrograms, and the next one might be 100, and you want to be able to know that you're starting with the lowest dose possible, I think you should start at 20 micrograms and work up. 40 is like the perfect sort of sweet spot for most people, in my opinion. 16 to 80, whatever. It really, it's a situational use type of thing, especially when you try to figure out how much you want to go up by. But try to get some tabs, start at the lowest dose possible, see how you react. If your heart's going crazy on 20, that's up to you if you want to try it again, if you want to try it the next day. But usually, after a few days, after a week, all the shakes and stuff sort of go away, and you'll notice that your heart rate is increased a little, nothing crazy, like 5% maybe, something like that. But that's sort of the point of it. That's what helps with fat burning as well, increases your metabolic rate, right? So again, just be careful with it, but remember, it's really hard to take a lethal dose of Clen. way more difficult than you would expect. And like, this isn't the only case study. There's multiple case studies on this, and there's some really just wild dosages out there that just didn't kill anybody. Like, it just didn't. So it's almost like our body sort of has a mechanism to shut it off once your heart just beats that fast. I'm sure if you gave the 5,000 micrograms that this kid took to like an 80-year-old dude, it would probably mess him. It might kill him, but that should be, common sense. But again, don't jump into all these toxic compounds that could really screw up your organs. When we have things like testosterone and HGH and insulin and Clen, we have things that we have so much literature on. You should be able to figure out how much to take and what the safety risks are. I mean, ask your doctor. If you really have, the kahunas on you, just ask your doctor, hey, which one of these would you take? Which one's the safest? I promise you, he's not going to tell you that Tren's the safest, or Deca, or Equipoise, or Anadrol, or D-bol. If he's someone or maybe a doctor outside of the clinical setting, they're going to tell you that like insulin and HGH are super safe. So is Clen. Like Clen, even albuterol, if you want to do albuterol. Just, what logical sense does that make? Like, think about it. We have all this literature on how to do this safe, and then we have all this literature telling you that steroids are just terrible ideas. Okay, just think about it, especially for females. Tell me what you guys think. Clen is one of those where you could have a pretty big opinion the other way, especially if you're combining Clen and HGH with testosterone. You're sort of asking for cardiac issues. So if that's what you feel, let me know in the comments. See if there's any other case studies that sort of would sway you the other way. Tell me about that too. And, subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot. And like the video. Thanks.